Hey, what's going on? My name is Bim. This is my attempt at a green screen. When I bought it off Shopee, I thought it would be bigger. It's tiny. We'll see if I can make it work. If I can, then I should be like a tiny little talking head on the corner somewhere with like B-roll running. But if not, then you're just getting, this, a closet and some green screen. This is for like meetings and stuff, but whatever. I just thought it would work. But anyway, we're here to look at the Fantech WGP Revolver. There are two variants to this, the GP12 and the WGP. So GP12 is wire, this is the wireless version. This is the predecessor to controller that we had previously reviewed on this channel, the Fantech GP11 shooter, if I am not mistaken. The problem with that controller is that for something called a shooter, the accuracy on the sticks was terrible, and the D-pad was likewise pretty bad and was very disappointing. And even at that price range, it wasn't something I would recommend anyone buy. Let's see if the big brother, the WGP12 Revolver, redeems it. Let's go. With the Fantech WGP12 being a budget-minded controller, you'd expect it to have just like the basic stuff, and that's really all it has. It's got like instructions and USB, micro USB, micro USB. I didn't actually, I hoped for it to have USB-C, but I expected it to have micro. Packaging is pretty good actually for what it is. And there you have it. Dongle, of course. I expected it to have a dongle. I didn't expect it to just have like Bluetooth functionality. Let's talk build quality. It feels hollow. Like you could tap on it and it sounds pretty hollow. Kind of par for the course for these budget controllers, but the plastic, especially the body essentially, which is everything, it feels like it's better than what you would expect from a $20 product. It's matte and it feels pretty good. Not premium in any way, but it's a good, nice plastic. The same plastic applies to these two select and start buttons, and I think also the face buttons. Yeah. Also the home button. The D-pad is a little softer. The shoulder buttons are also kind of a different plastic, but they're still pretty good. It's all good plastic. If you'd seen any of my other reviews, you know how I feel about dongles. And this thing just took it like to the next level. I expected it to have a dongle for 20 bucks. Of course it's gonna have a dongle if you want to go wireless, but the shape and the angles is just so obnoxious. It doesn't need to have that hole, right? It doesn't need to have these angles, but it does. And what's weird is when you plug this thing in, it lights up green and red like LEDs, and they're bright and they're piercing, and they're also equally obnoxious. It might not be a big deal to others, but like to someone like me, I kind of hate it. But it's personal thing. So connecting it to the dongle is super straightforward. You can connect this to an Android device, via an OTG like connection, and a PS3. Why PS3? I have no idea. The store is about to be discontinued, but you can use it on a PS3 if you wanted to. But I think for the most part, most of the cases will be using, this for PC gaming or budget laptop gaming. So connecting this to your dongle on a PC is super easy. Plug this in, press this. Once this light steadies up, that means it's paired. But the problem is on Steam it gets recognized as an Xbox 360 controller. Windows recognizes it as an Xbox 360 controller, which is expected because this does use X input protocol. However, I could only really get it to work on Steam games. Even games that I launched on Steam that had a secondary launcher like Ghost Recon Wildlands, I had to go through so many hoops to get it to work. I had to close down XSplit, which was what I was using to capture the footage, before I could even get the controller to be recognized by the game. And using Apex Legends, I couldn't get it to be recognized at all. Maybe it's because I was using the new launcher, EA something, whatever, the new EA launcher, not Origin. Couldn't get it to recognize it. It wouldn't launch, so I couldn't use it for Apex Legends. I was able to use it for everything else though, but just, jumping through many hoops. But it shouldn't be that difficult. It is a straightforward X input controller. It should get recognized by any game that recognizes an Xbox 360 controller. But for some reason, my experience with this was very touch and go. I don't know if the GP11 vibrates. I don't remember. I don't think it does. This thing does. It has 2 motors here, and it vibrates, well enough. Nothing groundbreaking, but it's there. One thing I notice on budget controllers is that the select and start buttons, the peripheral buttons, are usually made from some kind of rubbery, weird rubber nubs. Thankfully, on this controller, they're actually quite pleasant to press, and they aren't raised very high, so you can just glide your thumb over them and press them no problem. It makes it very easy. The face buttons are bunched up together a bit, and they're very small. The buttons are a little smaller than, let's say, a DualShock 4 or an Xbox One controller, and it makes them not difficult to press. Like, I bet if you had a few hours of practice under this, it would just be second nature. But they are small, and they're raised a little higher than I would like. But, overall, still a pretty good set of face buttons. One of the more disappointing things about the GP11 was the D-pad. And the D-pad on this thing still isn't great. There is some noticeable input lag, and sometimes inputs just wouldn't get read at all. I think you have to press it a little harder than you should just to get the input to read. Like on a character select screen, I would sometimes, scroll through the characters and just the cursor wouldn't move unless I hit, the direction hard enough. But that said, it is decent enough that you can, with enough practice, be able to pull off electrics with this thing. So, once you get the pressure right, and once you get used to that lag, then it's decent enough to work with. The sticks are pretty good. They click really loudly. You can hear that, right? So they're obnoxiously loud, but in terms of accuracy, they are much improved from the GP11, at least to the best of my memory. There is a slight issue with horizontal acceleration. I think the dead zones on left and right horizontal movement are too small, I would say. So it zooms left and right quite quickly. So just like walking on a game like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, it sometimes gets dizzying if you move your camera around a lot. But for third-person shooters like Wildlands, you can, with enough practice, get accurate enough to be able to be decent at it. What really stood out for me are the shoulder buttons. They're really good. The bumpers have a nice click to them. They're not super loud, not obnoxiously loud, and they have a bit of resistance and a nice feedback that you get. The triggers also, I think the triggers are the best thing about this controller. The travel is short. See, the travel is short, but there's enough resistance to it that it feels great, when shooting or when you're driving, playing a driving game and you're accelerating. Keeping in mind that it is a budget product at less than $20. I think I got this for 900 pesos, so less than 20 bucks. For what it is and how much it costs, it's a controller, it's a decent controller bordering on good. If the GP11 is something I can't possibly recommend, the WGP12 is certainly something that if your budget is under 20 bucks, then this is something that you might want to look at. It's a pretty good controller for its price. I hope you guys liked this video. I hope you found it a little informative. If you did like the video, hope you drop a like, comment, and subscribe. I have reached my 1,000 sub goal, but I would still like to be able to do more on this channel. And I guess that is it for the WGP12. And I will catch you guys in the next one. We are doing the 8BitDo Pro 2 controller.